Bigot, and we got Bigot. There's a Nike product page that has suddenly turned a tennis story into something much bigger. The product code is IM9420-417. The colorway is called Old Royal, a deep saturated blue with black and white detailing, and mesh elements inspired by the structure of a basketball backboard. The product is the NikeCourt Slam Women's DRI Fit tennis dress. It is available in sizes extra small through large, and the listed price is $140. But the real story isn't the dress. The real story is a 21-year-old left-handed Filipina who is expected to wear it at the 2026 U.S. Open. Alex Eala, Sports Illustrated's tennis coverage, reported the development within the past week. The dress expected to be worn by Eala in New York has officially appeared for sale at retail, and the WTA world is still trying to understand what that actually means. Because a Nike.com product page is not a random gesture. It isn't a gift. It isn't simply a favor. It is a commercial decision. It is a bet. And Nike has just placed that bet on a Filipina athlete who, only 3 weeks earlier, had not yet won a WTA title. To understand why a $140 tennis dress is suddenly newsworthy, you first have to understand what Nike normally does not do. Nike does not casually put untested names at the center of its live product launches during the American hardcourt season. The U.S. Open is one of the most important moments on Nike's tennis calendar, and the brand has historically been extremely selective about which athletes receive major attention. Its current global signature women's tennis athlete is Naomi Osaka. Even with Osaka, Nike has approached new collections carefully. Other major players have spent years connected with the brand without necessarily receiving full retail signature products. Jannik Sinner has had Nike support for years, but his broader signature presence has developed gradually. Carlos Alcaraz has also carried major Nike visibility without every piece of his branding immediately reaching general retail. And some Nike tennis apparel projects remain limited to specific markets. Then there is Alex Eala, currently ranked world number 20, the first Filipina in history to reach the WTA top 20. And suddenly, her face is connected to a Nike US Open product. Now, let's be fair. This is not a coronation, and it would be wrong to pretend this is a completely custom Alex Eala dress. Skeptics on Tennis Reddit and elsewhere have correctly pointed out that the Court Slam dress is a shared Nike design. Other contracted Nike athletes will wear versions of the same silhouette in different colors. Aryna Sabalenka is also wearing a version from the same collection. So no, this isn't a dress Alex personally designed. It isn't an exclusive signature garment carrying her name. It is a NikeCourt Slam product, but that doesn't make the development meaningless. In fact, the fair reading may be even more interesting. Nike is using Eala as part of its U.S. Open marketing cycle, and that means the company believes her image has commercial value right now. That is the part worth watching, because the U.S. Open is a home event for Nike. It is one of the brand's biggest tennis showcases in one of its most important consumer markets. During the most valuable tennis month of the American calendar, Nike has to decide which athletes receive visibility, which faces appear in promotional material, which players receive social media attention, which athletes become associated with the newest products. Those choices are not random. They are marketing decisions. And this time, Alex Eala is one of the faces being placed in that spotlight. As Sports Illustrated's tennis coverage put it, if anything can jolt Nike awake in tennis, it could be the rapid rise of Eala. That isn't simply a fan making an exaggerated statement. It is an industry publication looking at Nike's actions and asking what those actions reveal. So the real tension here isn't hero versus villain. It is legitimacy versus leverage. And the evidence has to support whatever conclusion we reach. Start with the product page, because the product page is the receipt. NikeCourt Slam Women's DRI Fit tennis dress. Product code IM9420-417. Old Royal colorway. $140. Available in sizes extra small through large. And Nike's own description presents the dress as a lightweight slam design created for elite tennis players. The detailing draws inspiration from basketball. The message is about speed, confidence, and entering the court ready to attack. That isn't fan-made copy. That is corporate product language. And the product is live during the same period when Eala's U.S. Open kit has become part of the conversation. So the question becomes very simple. How did Alex Eala get into this position? The answer begins with what happened on August 3rd in Washington, D.C. Eala walked onto final court at the Mubadala D.C. Open, a WTA 500 tournament, and she faced top seed Jessica Pegula. What happened next changed the entire trajectory of her summer. Eala lost the first set 6-4. Then she turned the match around. She won the second set 6-4. And then came the moment nobody expected, a 6-0 third set, a bagel against one of the most established players in women's tennis. Pegula had reached the U.S. Open final before. She was one of the biggest names in the draw, and Eala had just beaten her in a WTA 500 final. That victory made Eala the first Filipina to win a WTA singles title. And suddenly, her name wasn't just sitting on a prospect list anymore. It was moving into a completely different category. That is where the commercial story begins. Because major brands don't only watch rankings. They watch momentum. They watch attention. They watch audiences. They watch whether an athlete can make people care. And Alex Eala was suddenly doing all those things at once. Washington was the first major signal. Toronto became the second. At the National Bank Open, another WTA 1000 event, Eala continued her run. She defeated Alicia Parks 6-1, 4-6, 6-2 in the second round. Then she defeated 7th seed and Canadian favorite Leylah Fernandez 6-2, 7-6. The crowd became part of the story. Filipino fans filled the venue. Philippine flags appeared throughout the stands. And the atmosphere became so noticeable that the tournament itself started feeling like another chapter in the Eala phenomenon. She eventually lost in the round of 16 to Belinda Bencic, but the loss didn't erase what had happened. If anything, the crowd response proved that Eala's popularity had moved beyond the result of a single match. People were buying tickets. People were traveling. People were discussing her. People were arguing about her fan base. And tennis commentators were debating whether this new audience was changing the atmosphere around the WTA. Every one of those things matters to sponsors, because sponsors don't measure emotion the way fans do. They measure whether a name moves people, whether a player creates attention, whether an athlete can make an audience show up. And Alex Eala had begun doing exactly that. Then came another major development, the ranking. Eala reached world number 20, a career high, and according to the source material, the first time a player from the Philippines had occupied that position. That isn't marketing. That is measurable. And it also creates another opportunity. Because with Eala entering Cincinnati without points to defend, another strong run could push her even higher. A top 16 seed at the U.S. Open becomes a realistic possibility. Again, that isn't hype. That is the ranking mathematics behind the story. And ranking mathematics is exactly the kind of thing a company like Nike pays attention to when deciding how much investment to put behind an athlete. So take a moment here. There's an obvious temptation to look at all these events lining up and immediately call a coronation. But that would be too much. Alex Eala is not the next Serena Williams. She is not currently a Nike signature athlete. And the global signature position on the women's side still belongs to Naomi Osaka. Those distinctions matter. Eala has received Nike apparel before. She has appeared in Nike-related campaigns. She has also appeared on the cover of Vogue Philippines wearing Nike tennis apparel. That was an early signal. What is happening now is another signal. A bigger one, but it is still not the final destination. It is not the earthquake. It is the second tremor. And the difference matters. Because the real question isn't whether Alex Eala has suddenly become Nike's biggest tennis athlete. She hasn't. The real question is whether Nike has started seeing her as someone worth developing. And that is where this story becomes much more interesting. That brings us to the market itself. And this is a part of the story that casual tennis viewers may completely miss.